I love, 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 love that people are commenting on my last video. One, because it helps me get information out there, but two, because you guys are actually interacting with it and thinking about these things. So I want to offer you this. So the last video was on the two different stress pathways, hyperarousal and hypoarousal. So hyperarousal is more activated state, hypoarousal is a more immobilized state. Oftentimes we think of them as sort of polar opposites. So if you were calm and balanced, you're in the middle, and if you have a lack of energy, you're more in the hypoarousal, so more of like a depressed like state. And if you have an excess of energy or activation, you're more in the hyperarousal. And so I want you to kind of deconstruct that and think about it this way. So if you are at the beginning of the continuum or the spectrum, right? That is when you are calm and balanced, and that usually looks like the body's relaxed, the mind is focused and alert, you're flexible, adaptable, socially engaged, present. That's a place that we want to be. So I like to teach about emotions on a 0 to 10 scale. That would be sort of, 0 to 3 range. Depending on the intensity of the stressors, the number of the stressors you have, the resources you have available to you to manage those stressors, that'll kind of depend which pathway you take. But typically, if you're starting in a calm, balanced place, the sort of next place that you would go is hyperarousal. So it's a more activated state. In that state, you usually feel like there's something that you can do. So you have tools, resources, inner strengths in order to navigate the circumstances you're experiencing. That can be things like a roof over your head, food to eat, a job, social support. It can also be internal strengths like persistence, grit, tenacity, discipline, compassion. Then if the number of stressors are too great, the intensity of the stressors are too great, or there's a high volume and high intensity, and your resources or the tools that you have to navigate that are capped or limited or over capacity, that's typically when you experience more of a hypoarousal state. So it's your body's way of shutting down towards self-preservation. The language we use is kind of interesting. I always find it interesting when we're in a hyperarousal state. It's usually I can, right? So there's hope still. When we are in a hypoarousal state, it's sort of a place of defeat often. We feel like there's nothing more that we can do. We feel stuck. You can still feel stuck in hyperarousal, so know that this isn't like, these aren't absolutes. But in a hypoarousal, it's usually like my capacity is overwhelmed, and so my body's going to begin shutting down, become immobilized for self-preservation. Even though it doesn't feel like what you want to be happening, your body's actually doing what it's designed to do. The way out is the same essentially for both pathways. So when you're in a hypoaroused state, so that more depressed state, know that when you come out of it, you'll probably be more hyperaroused, so more anxious. That's okay, keep going, and then work your way towards a calm, balanced state. You may not get there in a day. It may take weeks, months, years, just depending on where you're at. I had anxiety for years, and it took me a lot of consistent practice in order to effectively reduce my anxiety. The last couple years, I'd say I was in a high-functioning, hypo-aroused state. So definitely it just felt like I was like wearing concrete boots, trudging through water, because there was just so many challenges that I was tackling. I was in a place of growth. And so I knew that it was, where I was at was primarily self-induced. There were some things that were out of my control, but a lot of it was my own doing, because I was growing, and growth is hard. It's difficult. There's a lot of challenges that come with it. There's a lot of setbacks. That's part of the learning process. On the other side of it, if you make it through, the beautiful thing is now you have this wisdom, right? So whether you are healing from trauma or adversity, or whether you are just pushing your limits and increasing your capacity, know that there's going to be some friction in that process, and that it is going to be difficult, and you might be struggling and might have both of those sort of activated, deactivated response. But you got to keep going. You just use the tools that you have available to you, increase your social support, increase the resources you have at your disposal, build out new capacity by learning new tools. If you need support, I am launching a program in a couple weeks, so I'd love to have you. I'm more than happy to teach you as much as I can in the 2 weeks. There's a lot of information in this head, so I want to get it out to as many people as possible. And just get real strategic about it. It's not about just indiscriminately using tools. There is a little bit of strategy, knowing, being self-aware first, and then knowing what it is that you need in order to effectively cope and self-soothe. So if you have any questions, please feel free to message me. The program starts on January 30th. It's 8 weeks of live Zoom sessions where I'll be teaching you guys some skills, teaching you guys about the mind-body connection, your nervous system, teaching you some tools to self-regulate and self-soothe, and then helping you put it all together in a way that makes sense for you. Everything is designed to be easy and adaptable because, let's be honest, we don't have tons of time to just take care of ourselves all day long. We usually have many other competing demands. So again, we start on January 30th. Program is Tuesday. I'm in California, so Pacific Standard Time, 6 to 7. You will get recordings if you can't make the live sessions. And we'll do lots of practice. So my goal is to always help you to feel grounded, to feel calm entering and leaving our sessions, but also feel like you have a deeper understanding of how you operate.